So you might have seen the Maria Had a Little Lamb where I wrote out the left hand playing only C and G, and just alternate either the C or the G to put the two hands together with the melody. But this video is for those of you who can practice the C full chord and the G7 full chord. This video is for you after you've practiced left hand alone these chords, and you've practiced the right hand alone very fluently, then you can start putting them together. And I could tell you in advance, just knowing from experience, that when you're repeating the chord with the chord symbol in the left hand on, this will be easy because you're repeating the same chord, right? So let's do that first. C chord and the right hand first note, E. Here we go. They fall down together on beat 1. Then go down in the right hand and go down and go back up. By the time you come back to E, that's bar 2. That's when you're replaying that C chord and you repeat the melody. And that's what we've just done. What I bracketed in lilac. And now the next section you should be practicing is bar 2 to bar 3, because the difficulty is that you're changing to the chord that's highlighted in green right now. So let's just practice a small chunk at a time. E with the C chord, bar 2, at the beginning of my bracketed in lilac. E, and now I have to change both chords, and the left hand and the right hand has to go to D to go with that. And that might take some time for brand new beginners just to get there. So do make use of thinking ahead while you're having that beat over there. Think ahead. Oh yeah, I need to change both hands, right? I need to change the chords and I need to change to D. So let's repeat this little chunk, bar 2 and 3, one more time. E with C chord. 2. Change your left hand and then play your right hand D with it. And if I get that little chunk correctly, then only then will I move to play bar 3 and bar 4 together. So here it is, G7 and D. Here we go. And then I have to change back to chord C, and the E goes with that chord C in the last bar in that little chunk in lilac. You may notice also that for you to move from the G7 back to the C is much easier, right? So this little chunk is a little easier than the previous chunk. But then when you've got 2 bars at a time, especially this chunk very, very well, then only then would I try to do maybe 3 bars first. Go from bar 2 to bar 3 to bar 4. Just do that, because from bar 1 to 2, you know it's easy. So here it is, bar 2, E with C chord. Then you have to change chords to G7 along with the D in the left right hand. Then back to C chord with the E in the right hand. And if you repeat it and stop this video many times, only then can you go for the entire 4 bars. Here it is. D with G7. And then E with C again. Oh, I made a mistake. I didn't repeat the chord C right here. And that's not a major mistake, and that's okay too. Because when you're strumming guitar, for example, that's basically reading like a guitarist would do. Sometimes you're like, forgot to strum, but the sound carries on. Okay, but I should have repeated the C there. Then we repeat right from the beginning, and we're going to go from this 2 bars, and then we're going to jump to do these 2 bars because it's called second ending, because we repeat it because of the 2 dots. So now, since we already know the first 2, we practiced that very well. What we do need to practice now is how to go, especially with our eyes not being familiar, how to go from this bar and jump and look at this bar and do this bar. because they're actually following each other. So let's practice C and E, C chord and E, and then your eyes have to shift all the way to ending number 2. D with the G7, D, repeat it, go up and down, and of course you're tempted to play the last part, but only do that if that went smoothly, going from this bar to this bar very smoothly. Otherwise your brain will be overtaxed. Okay, so again, learn how to practice just 2 bars at a time with 2 different chords, knowing that when you're changing chord is when you're going to have difficulty. So let's do now this bar 2, jump to ending number 2, and actually incorporate the last bit in there. Here we go, E and C chord. Now jump to ending number 2 right here. D with G7, up and down, and the last note is C with C chord. And if you got that little chunk of 3 bar that we just did correctly, only then will I go back and try the entire song. No, let's try just the what I highlighted in blue, basically the second section of Mary Had a Little Lamb. These 2 bars in blue, and then these 2 bars at the end. Here we go, E and C chord. Repeat the C chord with the E, repeat the E. 2, shift your eyes to the second ending, D with the G7, repeat the right hand up, down, and then C with C chord. So in no hurry, right? Practice really slowly like that. So now that you got the blue and the blue section, then you can go back and actually do the entire song. So this video is basically teaching you to practice very small chunk at a time. One of your first 2 hands together songs. Learn how to practice.